They called him the man of God of our time. His name was Pastor Daniel, a man whose life seemed like the perfect definition of holiness, humility, and greatness. Every Sunday, the streets leading to his church overflowed with worshippers, men in suits, women in gele, children with Bible bags, all eager to catch a glimpse of him. When Daniel walked to the pulpit, people whispered, "There goes the man who walks with God." At home, his life looked even more beautiful. His wife, Grace, was proud of him. She would often sit with her friends and boast, "My husband, he is not just my husband, he is my covering, my prophet, my mentor, and my best friend." His children adored him. After church, they would run into his arms shouting, "Daddy, Daddy," as he lifted them, one on each arm. At family dinners, laughter filled the table. He told them Bible stories, and they believed every word because Daddy wasn't just a preacher, he was a living example of everything he preached. And the testimonies, they never stopped. Widows came forward, tears rolling down their cheeks, saying, "Pastor Daniel paid my rent when no one else cared." Students testified, "He gave me a scholarship when my parents couldn't afford school fees." He prayed for the sick and people claimed healing. In hospitals, his presence alone gave hope. Once, he prayed for a woman in a coma, and days later, she opened her eyes. People called it a miracle. To his congregation, Daniel was untouchable. He was a man who had it all: respect, love, influence, wealth, and above all, the fear of God. But as the saying goes, sometimes the brightest lights hide the darkest shadows. He began innocently, or so he thought. One evening, a young woman came to his office, her face swollen with tears. Her name was Anita. Her marriage had collapsed, and she had no one to turn to. She cried, begged, poured out her heart, saying, "Pastor, you are the only one I trust." Daniel listened with compassion, but something shifted that night. When Anita held his hand a little longer than necessary, he felt a pull inside him. A voice whispered, "You are a shepherd, comfort her." Another voice warned, "Be careful, this is a trap." At first, he resisted. He prayed even more, fasted more, and told himself, "I must not cross the line." But temptation is patient. It waits. Late night counseling sessions became frequent. Prayers turned into conversations, conversations into lingering touches, and soon Daniel found himself in a web he could not untangle. The man who once preached fire against sin now lived with guilt burning in his chest. On Sundays, he mounted the pulpit, shouting, "Be holy, for God is holy." The congregation clapped. Some fell under the anointing. Others wept at the altar. But Daniel himself could not step forward during altar calls. He was the shepherd leading others, or hiding his own wounds. Each night, he prayed for forgiveness, tears soaking in his pillow. But every morning, he justified his silence. No one must ever know. If they find out, everything will collapse. And so, the perfect pastor began to live with the secret sin buried deep in his soul. Years passed. If sin had a voice, it was silent. Daniel's secret stayed hidden, buried under layers of success. His ministry expanded beyond imagination. New branches opened in Abuja, London, and New York. His sermons filled stadiums. Governments invited him to speak at national events. Foreign churches begged for his mentorship. His family thrived. His eldest daughter drew a picture of him preaching and wrote beneath it, "Daddy, my hero." His youngest son proudly told his classmates, "My father is the holiest man alive." The media worshipped him. Newspapers carried headlines. Pastor Daniel, the modern prophet of Africa. And his giving, he was unmatched. He built schools for the poor, hospitals for the sick, and donated millions to charity. Everywhere he went, people rose to their feet. Some even whispered, "Surely this man is a saint." But at night, when the applause died, Daniel sat alone in his study, staring at his Bible. Guilt whispered again, "You think the past is gone? You think no one will know?" Convincingly, he said to himself, "The past is buried. Nobody will ever know." But secrets are like shadows. They follow you, waiting for light to expose them. One stormy night, everything changed. The woman, Anita, died in a tragic car accident. At her funeral, few knew she had left behind a secret. A child, a little boy. He grew up hungry, and rejected. Other children mocked him, calling him bastard. His mother's dying words haunted him. "Find your father. He is a great man." As the boy grew into a young man, he searched for answers. Old documents, hidden letters, secret receipts, all pointed to one shocking truth. His father was Pastor Daniel. For months, he attended the church quietly, blending into the crowd. He watched Daniel preach with fire and passion. He saw the man worshippers called him Daddy of Nations. But inside him burned rage. And then, one Sunday morning, with the church filled to capacity, thousands inside, millions watching online, he could no longer hold back. He walked to the altar, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The ushers tried to stop him, but he broke free, grabbed the microphone, and pointed straight at Daniel. With a trembling voice, he shouted, "This man is my father." The entire church was in shock. Murmurs filled the hall. Daniel's wife froze. His children looked at each other in confusion. Members whispered, "Impossible. Not our pastor." But the boy continued. "He left me. He abandoned me. And for years, he has lied to you all." Chaos erupted. Some members rushed to defend Daniel. Others screamed in anger. The boy pulled out evidence, old photographs, DNA test results, secret bank transfers his mother had kept. Everything pointed to Daniel. His wife collapsed on the spot. His children burst into tears, their world shattered. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, logs carried headlines. Pastor Daniel exposed as father of secret child. Television stations ran the story non-stop. Old enemies resurfaced, mocking him. Businessmen withdrew their contracts. Politicians distanced themselves. Members left the church in droves. The elders summoned him for judgment. Once they adored him, now they stared at him with eyes of betrayal. For the first time in his life, Daniel stood speechless. His empire crumbled in a single week. The man who once commanded nations now faced judgment in his own house. Late at night, Daniel sat alone in his study. His Bible lay open, but he could not read. Tears blurred the pages. He remembered every sermon he had preached, every altar call he had ever made, every soul he had ever led to Christ. Now the echoes of his words mocked him. He stood before the congregation one last time. His voice cracked as he confessed, "Yes, I sinned. Yes, I fell. And I thought I could bury the past. But sin does not stay buried. I deceived you, and I deceived myself." He wept bitterly, but his family walked away. The once mighty church emptied. Daniel was left with nothing but silence. Silence in his home, silence in his soul. And in that silence, he finally realized the truth. Secrets always grow. They wait in the silence until they explode. You can deceive men, but you cannot deceive God. He ended up forgotten, broken, and alone. The man who was once honored now lived in disgrace, a warning to others. And so, Daniel's story became a lesson for the world. No matter how far you rise in life, one secret can bring it all crashing down. Subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. Bye.